As you all know, Cincinnati Public School has passed both an equity policy and an anti-racism policy. The board has also passed resolutions protecting students regardless of immigration status and supporting the district's LGBTQ plus students, and district staff and board members regularly march in the Pride Parade. These and other policies, resolutions, and actions by the district make clear CPS's stance on the role of diversity and inclusion in our education system. There have been numerous bills and resolutions passed at the State House that challenge many of the programs and offerings that CPS values. First, tell us what you believe the role of the school board is in equity and inclusion work. And secondly, tell us how you believe the district should respond when state bills pass that are in conflict with CPS policies or practices. This time, Brandon Craig will start us off.
Well, thank you for this question also. And I want to start by saying every child in our CPS school district, and matter of fact, these days, every child anywhere near our CPS school district is welcomed in CPS. We make sure that we fight for that, and that is something we will always have pride in. And that's the role of the board. The board sets policies and sets actions, as you referenced, to make sure that all of our students feel welcomed, that all of our students feel supported, they all feel valued when they come in our district, and that none are left behind when it comes to educational opportunities. Now, we know our state's going to challenge that every single day they can, and we're going to keep getting legislation that's going to push to make it more difficult for our students, and especially these days, our LGBTQ students, but more importantly, our Black students, our Hispanic students, our multilingual learning students, our biracial students, every single student in our district is facing challenges from the state these days, and we have to continue to ensure that they are protected. That's why we have fought over the years to ensure that we did not sign on to the letter, the Dear Colleague letter from the federal government, that we have challenged things that would come through that would require us to do more to put our students in jeopardy, and that why we will refuse to break our own policies or break our own rules when it came to having ICE come through our schools. We know that every student needs to feel valued and supported, and the only way you do that is you challenge those who attempt to come at them and take that away.
Brandon, thank you for sharing. We'll move on to Carrie.
Yeah, I would just say full stop the second the district stops having diversity, equity, and inclusion as a core principle is the second we fail our students, like hands down. We cannot because we are then have isolated and made our students feel unwelcome in our district, and that is completely unacceptable for Cincinnati Public Schools to do. So I totally agree with Brandon. Every single student is welcome within our schools, not just that they are welcome, that they need to feel welcome and safe in our schools. So first and foremost, that's what I believe is the role of Cincinnati public schools, because it's a right for every single student to have an education in our schools. And I believe that that includes a safe, welcome environment. Um, and then as far as responding to state and federal conflicts on that, I mean, I think that's going to have to happen as it comes. I know that I will do everything in my power to uphold the district's policies in a legal way. And but those challenges are going to keep coming, and I will continue to fight for inclusion in our schools.
Thank you for sharing. Kareem, please share your thoughts.
So the role of Cincinnati Public Schools has been built on diversity. We value diversity in all of its form, whether that be race, gender, sex. Those are the obvious ones, but also diversity of thought, diversity of learning style, and all of that is what we are built on. This board, and I'm so glad, and I don't want to repeat everything that was already said by my colleague, but this board stood fast against the challenge from the state and the federal government to challenge that some of the core values that we believe in. And we each, all seven of us, said no. We would not sign that, and we will stand steadfast against anything that is intended to ask us to do so. I believe we have always followed the law. We will continue to follow the law. And if the law changes, that's where engagement comes in. We need to rally the troops. We need to tell parents, hey, this is what they're asking us to do. In order to offset this and respond to state bills that are coming down the pike that are in committees right now, we need to be working with our state legislators. We need to have connectivity, and we do. We need to let them know how we're impacted by the things that are being presented and how detrimental they would be, and then let the community know how detrimental these things are. And that is exactly what we're doing right now. There are bills that don't make it out of committee because we rally the troops. We are in constant contact. We go up regularly.
Thank you very much, Kareem. We now move on to Marcia.
Okay. So first of all, I'd like to applaud the board members that have come years before me that have instituted some wonderful policies that are in place right now that create a safe learning environment for all of our children. And I will continue to support that. It includes the equity policy, the anti-racism policy, and other policies that make our environment safe for our kids. And we must uphold those things. But what I'd like to see when we talk about equity and our responsibility is that it needs to be reflected in our academic outcomes of all of our students. So as we look at their successes in the classroom and how they're being graduated, we should see equitable outcomes for all of our kids. And I think that's when we really start to see our work pay off. So while we have the policies, we need to hold our administration and our classroom leaders and our building leaders accountable for making sure that that equity is reflected in the classrooms. And then finally, I wholeheartedly agree with Dr. Moffett when she talks about advocacy at the state level. We need to inform our community that we have local control right now, and we need to band together to keep our local control of our school district and to stand guard against these harmful bills that are coming down the pike that would disrupt that.
Thank you for sharing, Marcia. And last but not least, Jim Crossett. You could answer that question.
Yeah, thank you. I think by definition, we are inclusive. Any student who lives in our district can be educated in our schools. We are inclusive automatically. And I'm proud of that, and I'm glad that we will continue that. I think in terms of equity, just to add to some of what's already been said, but also we approve the budget. And I think there in that budget approval, I like to think that we're very careful in trying to allocate resources where they can be most equitable. We're not perfect at it, but I do think that we pay attention to that. I think we got to just be with Columbus, Ohio, we just got to be very vigorous and very much on time. Very vigorous and very much on aggressive in paying attention to what bills are coming and getting the word out to our community and to our representatives to try to help us. Right now, the atmosphere in Columbus is very aggressive, and we're going to have to be just as aggressive as we fight for what we need and the rights of our students and the resources that we need to help our schools be as best as they can. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim.